Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Soul to Soul Conversations podcast. I'm Caroline Crawford.
And I'm Paul Crawford.
So today we're going to dive into the topic that we feel is really timely and very much needed at these times of uncertainty and chaos and all the circus that's going on. We're going to be discussing and having a conversation about creating clarity within ourselves.
Yeah, and it really leads on from our previous episode about letting go of those belief systems that no longer support us. And it really goes like hand in glove, really, because as we start to simplify our lives and we create a greater space, we're actually gaining clarity and we're allowing ourselves more time to be more observant of everything that we're doing, everything we're thinking, and how we're feeling as well. You know, tying in, it's not something out there, it's something within us, and I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, out there, isn't it, Paul? I mean, I think it's been so easy with what the media's going on in all sorts of areas that we won't talk about, but when if we're a little bit under the weather, or we've listened to too much of the negativity going on, our thoughts become very scattered, and then it clouds our inner peace. It clouds our connection to our true self, and that in itself can create more fear and more doubt. So we need to intentionally tune into ourselves, create space for that calmness and that clarity, so we can foster a stronger connection with our true selves. And then it becomes a deeply beautiful spiritual practice as well. This power of stillness, through meditation, through being in nature, especially being around water, but just tapping into that deeper wisdom and making that decision to really allow it to become a daily practice, because this is when we're strengthening our energies, and there is so much coming, these energies, these cosmic energies that are flowing in to raise our frequency. And it is a two-way thing. You know, these energies are coming in to help us with this clarity, to help uplift and elevate our vibration. So we have to play our part in that as well, by setting our intentions, by being mindful and creating that space to allow that clarity to bring in that peacefulness. And as I said, that, and live more authentically from our true self.
Yeah, and it's almost like moving from that state of that chaotic state that so many of us are in to a more simplistic energy, a more simplistic lifestyle, a more simplistic way of thinking. And you'll find that actually embodies a greater creativity within us, because we're allowing ourselves to be still, we're allowing ourselves to be present, we're allowing ourselves to be more mindful, as Caroline was saying. And it allows us to really tap in to our true essence. We're no longer following the herd, so to speak, into that. We're just, without thinking about what we're doing, we're just like shuffling along in life. Through being that intentionality of our thoughts, of our actions, we begin to really take control of it, not in a pushing sense, a real like fighting sense, but with an ease and with a
mastery.
A majesty.
Oh yeah, I like that. Majesty. I like that. Majesty and mastery. Yes.
But I think, but first of all, we have to give ourselves permission to do this. And whilst, it is, it's an amazing spiritual embodiment that we start to allow to flow through our lives, but we can have fun with it as well. There's times of that stillness, and we might be a little bit more solemn in our thoughts, But, have fun, inject that fun, because that raises our spirits, that raises our energy, and that can help propel us forward more as well.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of things I've noticed, I always get clusters of clients coming in with very similar issues. And recently, this anxiety I feel that is presenting itself, they've realised once we have a conversation with each other, because once people start talking, it reflects back what's really going on internally. And often it isn't even their anxieties, it's other people's fears and doubts, it's conditioning, it's what we're being told, and even the illusion of, this isn't really me. And once we identify that, that is so empowering, and that can move us again into this sense of being our authentic selves that has really been drowned out, don't you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think there's so much noise that goes on in our lives that we can't hear ourselves think. We fill our time with distractions, and and I'm as guilty of that as the next person.
Phone scrolling.
Yeah, I mean, scrolling through your phone, and you go down those rabbit holes, and it's allowing ourselves to. I'm not saying waste time doing that, because you can actually gain some good information that way as well.
Sometimes.
But it's being mindful of how much time are we spending doing those sort of things, and is that just distracting us from those aspects of life that we really want to spend more time?
Well, I think it is. Even during our meditation, well, at the start of our meditation group, not starting it, I was talking to one of my friends there, and I said, I've really got to stop looking at my phone last thing at night. Get ready for bed, and before you know it, I think, right, just 2 minutes. She said, yeah, exactly the same. Next thing, it's like 30-40 minutes gone. So I said, yeah, what I do now, I actually, when I go in the bedroom, I'll put it in the drawer and close the drawer, and then I know I'm not going to look at it. So far it's working, but I think, much less time on being distracted, because, it's just, we need to be now matching up to these energies, these frequencies of higher energy that are coming in for us to work with our integrity, and to embrace that integrity, because as we embrace that integrity, that helps us live with a greater sense of purpose and brings a greater harmony to the mind, to the body and the soul. And that's what we're here to do, to help that bridge between the mind, the heart and soul to become a much easier thing. So we're living with this greater purposeful energy. And then we begin to see these beautiful synchronicities, don't we, opening up in our life. And also, when we have this increased clarity, and like Paul says, and we're more present with one another in conversations, I think that really helps us to have compassion, and to empathise with others, and to see them as they truly are, rather than projecting onto them any of our thoughts or our conditioning. We were in a lovely conversation with a new friend the other evening at a friend's party, and we were all really engaged, and it was like there was nobody else in that room, and that's when it's a lovely conversation, because that clarity you're giving to others, that clarity you're allowing within yourself, really helps us to feel a stronger connection, a stronger intuition, and to really empower us in that present moment.
Yeah, and I think when you're being more present, it's like time slows down, the world slows down, and this is how we can move away from that chaos into these more simpler times. I mean, I remember when you look back at some of the olden videos and things where life was at a slower pace. In the industry that I'm in construction, it's gone from a slower pace to everything is just so, now. And if we can just allow ourselves to be free from from creating that stagnant energy, because that's what happens. We become tense within situations, and when we're tense, we're locking ourselves into that situation. So in allowing ourselves that greater essence of freedom, that greater essence of stillness, we can begin to make those better decisions. We can make decisions that are more aligned to our higher self, to our true self. And this is where that spiritual energy and frequency comes into being. As Cameron was saying about the synchronicities that start to flow more, but not just the synchronicities of situations or experiences, but of our thoughts, the synchronicities of our thoughts, because they're always there. But when our mind's so busy, we're unable to notice them as much, and then to maybe give them greater time to think about those thoughts that are going to propel us forward into a greater joy, a deeper understanding of who we are and what our greater purpose is.
Yeah, because I think it's really important that we really feel or acknowledge how we feel about things. If we feel something isn't right, either something within us or something that's being projected to us on the TV, or somebody out there, we feel it's not right. We know, don't we? And when something doesn't feel right, we start to question it, and then we start to doubt, and then before we know it, that's ran away with us, hasn't it? And we've kind of got on that hamster wheel again, and going round and round and round, and that's just a kind of downward spiral that we're stuck on. But once we, like Paul says, slow down and stop and become still, and we're quiet, and we cultivate that sense of peace and clarity within us, then we can really feel that truth that arises. And when we feel that, we feel in alignment with that truth, don't we? We feel this greater sense of peace and clarity within us. And I often use, yoga helped me enormously in my life. In growing up as a child in my early 20s, I suffered with a lot of anxiety. And occasionally, I'm human, it raises its head again. But one of the mantras I really love to use that helps me immediately, and taking a deep breath with it, is I am breathing in peacefulness. And as you breathe out, I am feeling peaceful now. So let's do that together. I am breathing in peacefulness. Hold for 2. I am feeling peaceful now. Now, don't expect that after 2 breaths of doing that, everything's peaceful and calm and you're all good again. I've known people say, that didn't work. Positive thinking don't work, but it's because they don't maintain it. We have to maintain those peaceful thoughts, and even sometimes, shift our focus onto thinking of something completely different. Right, what have I got to do later on today, or something that made us feel more joyful. So we're disconnecting, if you like. We're disconnecting from that anxiety. And remember, where we place our energy, that energy expands. So, I had a situation earlier and I thought, right, let's think of something else, something good. So I started to think about things I'd got to build on today. And before I knew it, I was completely in that energy. So give yourself time, give yourself respect your time, and respect and honor that, having that compassion and that gentleness for yourself and that patience. Because don't you think, Paul, that so often in the world now everything's quick, we want everything now, and that is really not a good state of energy to be in. So take back your energy. Take back, as Paul said earlier, take back your control. Take back that inner place. Drop into your heart. Feel that connection to your heart. use your discernment, because everything we're thinking in the present moment is creating our future experiences, and then the universe reflects back to us. And remember that anything that is being reflected to us is completely from our thought systems, our beliefs, our habits, our patterns, is just being shown back to us. So if we don't like something, think, what can I change here? What in me has created this? And I found that so empowering, and using your humor with it, but creating that clarity gives rise to that truth within us, gives rise to that knowing. And as we said, that connection to our true self, to our soul, to our divine essence.
Yeah, and it kind of, even just hearing you talk and say things like that, I can feel myself slowing down. And as you slow down, you become a lot more observant, because you've got more time to be observant. You've got more time to do things. You've got time to be more caring, more nourishing of yourself, first of all. And then that allows you to take that energy out into the world. And that's what we're endeavoring to do. We're moving towards an existence of a greater compassion, a greater understanding, and where we're showing a deeper and a true essence of love within us. So as we radiate that energy, we find we do it even more so when we have that clarity in our lives. We have that clarity means that we've got space to think, space to be, space to breathe. And it's amazing. And you're so right about, expecting, we do 2 deep breaths and hang on a minute, why isn't it working? But it's allowing ourselves to create new habits of taking time just to stop, just to be still. Let's think about this before I move forward. So we're being more mindful, we're being more intentional. And as we do that, that changes our energy. And as it changes our energy, it can create a greater focus on what we're doing. Because rather than us just rolling down that hill and the natural momentum overtakes us from controlling it, we're mindfully going about our everyday. We're being more mindful of our thoughts. We're being more mindful of what we're doing, how we're feeling, and we're allowing ourselves to grow into our greatness. And I never used to like saying anything like that. I thought it was being big-headed, but I'm not saying it to be in a big-headed way, but it's realizing that we're all amazing, infinite, great beings. And we have such a potential for us to do wonderful, loving things here in this earth. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to expand. We're here to grow. We're here to be our true loving selves. And I think allowing and taking time to be more mindful, creating space, moving from chaos into simplicity, allows us to embody all that we've come here to do and to elevate humanity to those higher frequencies.
Yeah, definitely. And I think living, when we create that clarity, it really enhances our decision making, because we're making our decisions then from a place of alignment, from a place of confidence and knowing, and rather than a place of reacting to fear. I've said this for a long time, we can't change what goes on in the outside world, but we can change the way that we respond to it. And we can just take a breath, connect inwardly, and connect to that calmer voice within us, so we can make space for that clarity. And as we make space for that clarity, then that truth arises, the guidance will arise, the wisdom will arise, and it enables us to become vessels for divine insight. And then that builds, doesn't it? So we want to build on the clarity, build on the peace, build on this presence within ourselves, to our soul. So I can hear Jarama coming through. He's going to give us a few words of his wisdom and their wisdom, I should say, Paul's team of infinite consciousness. And I'm going to say hello and welcome, Jarama.
Hello, my friends. It is important for you to remember that at this time of being, with so much happening in this physical environment that you are inhabiting, it's important for you to realize that this is just a temporary pathway for you. The truth of your being is far greater, is more expanded. And if you can allow that aspect of your energy to come in to this physical embodiment that you are currently experiencing, you will find that life will take on a whole new meaning. Many things that you currently find important will no longer have that same importance, because you start to change your viewpoint. You start to gain a greater understanding, because you're looking at things rather than in the depth of the chaos of something. You're looking at things from an elevated point, an elevated view. And that elevated view that you've created by allowing yourself to have more moments of stillness, of greater stillness. And within those moments of greater stillness, you will be allowing that inner energy, that inner wisdom, the wisdom of your expanded self, to be more realized. And as it becomes more realized in who you are, you then begin to project that out into this world. And as you project that out into this world, amazing things start to happen. You become the changing energy of this earth. You become the inspiration by raising the frequencies of humanity. Everything that you do impacts all of creation. And as has just been spoken about, you are infinite beings of love, infinite divine energies. So allow that essence of yourself to shine through in this physical lifetime. Allow more time to do things. And you'll be surprised that, and we are very well aware that in your working lives you will be working to some deadlines. But when you have a greater clarity in your own mind and that increased focus, you will actually achieve more in the time that you have. It's almost like you begin to slow down time through your conscious awareness. And also, as you allow that infinite energy of your true self to become more manifest in this physical environment, everything else begins to reflect that same energy. All of a sudden, maybe when you were struggling with something, some assistance comes out of the blue. And really, it's not coming out of the blue. It will be a reflection of your frequency. So be mindful, my friends. Allow yourself the freedom that will create a more joyful life for yourself. A joyful life that will elevate humanity to what it is promising to be. You are all the creators of your lives. So allow yourself time to question what it is that you want. Now, initially, you may not hear the answers straight away, but with practice, and as you slow yourself down, as you create that inner stillness, as you create more internal space, that inner wisdom will become clearer and stronger. And it will propel you forwards in ways that you would not think possible. And we talk of great ways, loving ways, expansive ways, ways that are allowing the energy of the energies of creation, those divine energies, to merge and do what it is meant to do. And that is to create love within every aspect of life. And that begins with you. So ask yourself, what will you now choose to do, given this information? How will you increase the clarity within you? What steps will you take to allow this to become your greater spiritual journey? We have great trust in you, my friends. We will, as always, do our part in non-physical. And we ask that you connect to your heart-centered energy and begin to trust in yourself and just what you are capable of achieving. We have great love for you. And with that, we say goodbye, my friends. But remember, it has to come from you. It is your choice, as is everything that you do, even in those moments when you feel that it is not your choice. There is something that you can do. And we request that you send out a thought and ask for help. But when you do so from those moments of stillness, because this will be when you allow the answer and the energies and the resonance and the frequencies that you need to come in and assist you. Goodbye, my friends.
Such wise words as always, and that just beautiful energy that they bring. Thank you, Paul. So thank you so much for listening today, for joining us. We hope this resonated with you. Remember to take a bit of time this week, maybe to just be still, to be honest with yourself and think, what is it time to do less of, and what would I like to have more of in my life? Because it's our choices that take us to where we want to get to. Maybe there's something you need to release in order to make space for more clarity. But what thoughts or habits cloud your inner clarity? So just be honest with yourself. Leave some comments down below if you are watching or listening on YouTube. What truths about myself or what habits do I feel are clouding my inner peace, or what gives me the most calm and aligned energy? So,
and while you're down there,
all right,
in the comments,
yes,
just click that subscribe and the like button, and as you say, make that comment. It really helps matters, and we love reading what you have to say.
Yes, we try and reply to one. So have a great month. We're actually going on holiday to Utah, but we are hoping to get another video put out for you, aren't we? We are going to do that. So we'll see you soon. Take care. Enjoy creating that clarity. And remember, it's not just a mental tool. It is a spiritual alignment, and it is your path to a greater joy, greater peace, and your greater authenticity. And you can really feel a stronger, more loving and empowering connection to your divine self, your soul, when you make that time to create that space for clarity.
And that just leaves us to say,
Namaste.